right next to all the words. Water goes past us, so. No, it's not. No, you. I'll let you. And then another. That is quite a haul. Yeah, it's always safe. The wife's one? I know. Real time. Oh, I get home. Real life. It's happened before. Yeah. Got two more. Andrea might call it. Two township are in 55.
Oh, Andrew's online.
Oh, yeah, you got
Enough.
no, you've got 5 already. Andrea, I think it's gonna call in.
Andrew's online.
She is. I gotta say, Jacob was a no, I guess she.
Is she an active participant in the meeting? Okay. Andrea, can you hear us? Or more importantly, can you hear me?
Hey.
Hey, Sarah.
Up and down. It's chilly there today. Can you hear me?
Hear you. You can, if you're not feeling well, you don't have to turn your camera on or anything. We are gonna have to do roll call votes. We will have to take roll call votes with, because we're not all here. We can't do it unanimously, you know.
Doesn't have to have it.
Yeah. But you can leave your camera off if you want to, or however you want to go. Things look good. Is it snowing over there in the Webster neighborhood? Snowing over here on Main Street.
Little bit.
Okay. So we're waiting for Leo.
He's a step.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What? Yeah. No, I'm never gonna. Not at all. I'm the last guy who gets worried about. Yeah, but you are right. Yep. All right, we're gonna get started in just a second. Cody, are we broadcasting? Good evening. We are getting started in just a moment at the Orono Town Council meeting. Waiting for a couple of counselors. And Darren. Hey, Darren. Good to see you. We technically have a quorum. There he is. Hey. Yeah. Hello, hello. Okay, we'll get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, March 24th, 2025 meeting of the Orono Town Council. Roll call shows we have Councilor Powers, Councilor Kenny, Councilor Demerit, Councilor Marks, Councilor Larway with us in Town Council chambers, and we have Councilor Hardison online. Councilor Baker is not going to be joining us this evening. Agenda review, that's the time in the agenda where we take a look at the things that are currently before the committee. We don't read through the whole list, but it's a reminder of the work that the committees are doing. And we talk about any questions or review of agenda items. I don't have any. I'm ready to roll on this thing just as it's presented, but does anybody have anything you want to add or ask questions about? Okay. Now we're up to item 3, approval of minutes for March 10th, 2025. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Move. Second.
Moved in second. We'll have to have a roll call, so we're going to start left to right. And Andrea, we're going to do you last, okay? Every time. The motion is approval of the minutes. Councilor Larway,
In favor.
Councilor Marks,
In favor.
Councilor Demerit's in favor, Councilor Kenny,
In favor.
Councilor Powers,
In favor.
Councilor Hardison.
In favor.
That's a 6-0 in favor. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you for that. Item 4 is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to talk about with the Orono Town Council and the people of Orono about anything that's not on our agenda. Do we have anybody who'd like to speak in public comment today? Paul, come on up and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Paul Pangburn. I'm from 11 Mountain View Drive, up over the hill behind the school.
Yeah, is the mic on, Paul? And you speak right into it? Okay.
Was.
Yep, good. Just speak right into it. Thank you.
I provided a couple of letters to the council. They're from abutters to the fields regarding some comments related to the recent planning board meeting. And I simply want to see if we could find out some way to address the recent meeting. And I won't go into all the detail that we provided in the letters, but basically what we're concerned about is we were caught by surprise with all of the work that had been done. And these particular abutters mentioned in the letter, myself included, feel like we were not informed, not aware, not included. And we feel like this is a major impact on the neighborhood. And a lot of issues are not being addressed. Has a major impact on our property. And the more I've thought about it, I would say it's as big an impact as what we're talking about, the corridor in the main street related to our neighborhood. I've lived in this neighborhood since 1988. When I moved in, my kids were 4 and 5. I've seen the entire neighborhood regenerate. And today, if you took a census, you'd find that the kids in the neighborhood are now 4, 5, 6, and 7 again. Mm-hmm. And I'm the old guy, except for one other neighbor. And with what they're proposing, we are going to have a major impact again. The proposal, which I've studied in great deal, does not address traffic. It does not address noise. It does not address what's going to happen in my living room when they change the hours to 9 and 10 o'clock at night. This is a time when I know I raised my kids, that we had our kids and our families in our homes. And when I moved in, we started to have football games for a year. Now we're talking about many events throughout the year. And it will be more, because after the meeting, I was told, they said, oh, and we're going to add more. This is not spelled out. And it's not so much my future as it is to whoever buys my house when I move out. I think we need to address property rights. And I can tell you over the years that I've been there, when we changed to an RSU, we lost community control. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. I know that from the inside out, because my wife is one of the longest term teachers that is in that school system. She's still there. And we have lost control from the town. They look every year to have us not, as taxpayers, vote on the budget. We don't have input. As a taxpayer myself, I don't get information because I don't have kids in the school. They don't ask me for input. They just ask for my dollars. And this was a perfect example. As a immediate abutter that's within their so-called 300-foot limit, they didn't ask. They didn't come talk to us. They didn't ask us to sign off on anything. And here we are. And when they decide to take a break between periods in this particular soccer event, the smokers, the pets, the people are going to walk right into my yard. And who's going to do anything about it? Nobody. In the last year, I spent thousands of dollars trying to take care of the buffer that they have not maintained. They have ignored it. And I've asked them and asked them and asked them to clean up the buffer. And it's right up to my back doorstep. One of the neighbors that's mentioned in this report, who bought a house 2 doors down from me, before they could buy the house, the school had to be forced to clean up that yard so that the house could be sold. So these are things that somehow we need to get mitigated before this project goes forward. The town has worked very hard to notify the community about what we're trying to do with the Main Street. But all of a sudden in the back neighborhoods, we're not doing that. So I just ask that the council somehow help us deal with this problem. Thank you very much for listening. And I hope that you look over the materials that we submitted and help us figure out how to deal with this, because we're helpless. I will tell you this, our property values will go down and the assessments won't be worth a dime up there if this continues on. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Paul, thank you for your comments. I don't know if this is the appropriate time for us to respond to your letter. We just got them this afternoon.
I realize that.
I will
don't-
say that, you know, abutters were notified by the town with the process with the planning board hearing opportunity, and the council is not, this is it was a planning board process and decision that's been made in a public meeting that was noticed for, you know, members of the public, with dozens and dozens of pages of material for people to look at. And we will take a look at your letter with town staff and see what we think, but I do, you know, it's not
And-
like we can,
And what,
not like we can or we should or would want to upend. The folks in the planning board do a really good job, I think, of working with the staff. So it's this is a part of the process that where the decision's been made, but we'll respond to you and, you know, in your letter and take it from there.
and the reason I asked
Yep.
to be heard was simply that everybody that I asked has a little different piece.
Yep.
And I understand a little bit about the quote legislative process of a planning board.
Yep.
And I just don't, we feel helpless. We
Yeah.
don't know how to tackle it.
Yeah.
And we're just hoping that we can get someone to listen and help us say, wait a minute, we need to take a look at this. And, you know,
Okay.
because, you
Thank
know,
you, Paul.
if we get it stuffed down our throat, we
Yeah.
get it stuffed down our throat,
Yeah.
but it's just not right.
Yeah, and I do appreciate, this public comment. When you reached out to me, I wanted to make it clear that this public comment period is open to anybody with any concern about Orono, and they absolutely get a chance to be heard. So that's, yeah.
See in the letters,
Yep.
it was just a great, big, huge thing, don't. But, you know, they campaigned, they cheerleaded, they collected money and all that kind of stuff, and it's just.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Yep. Is there any more public comment? Cody, do we have anybody online? Thank you. Next up is presentation discussion items. We're going to have a committee appointment process update from Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager.
Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager. So you all received a memo that kind of talks about the process. I didn't present anything too crazy. It's a pretty straightforward process of timing. I know that the NESEP committee wanted to look at this process and how to move forward. And I guess from there, I would answer any questions. I don't know if you'd like me to go through the memo, I can, but if anybody has any questions, I can answer them about the current process. And we go from there.
Anybody, I reviewed the materials. Anybody have any questions for
I have a comment, just a quick comment.
comment from Councilor Marks?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, first of all. It was really clear and I know put together in pretty short notice, and that was on us, not on you. And I just wanted to say how much I really appreciated that, looking at here's what we are doing, and given that NESEP exists and council had sort of asked us to tap into the process, I totally am in agreement that now is not the year to be revamping anything, nor am I very sure that we need to revamp very much. I feel like the biggest point has already been addressed. I just wanted to highlight for council, there's like an asterisk here saying that there'd be a small change to this bullet point with the asterisk at the end that says April and May. Just saying that staff would bring the vacancies and the lists of people who have volunteered to fill those vacancies to the NESEP meeting on April 10th. And the committee would be involved with staff in that process of taking a look at those applications and bringing those forward to council. So I feel very comfortable about it. And I think you did a great job.
I feel very comfortable they'll go to your committee instead of me as the council chair.
Yeah.
And which is, truly, I joke a lot from where I sit here, but that is what we're trying to achieve, is kind of a more collaborative process. And I look forward to the work we'll do to, I look forward to the work that we'll do to get more people involved in these opportunities in the years to come.
And I just wanted to say that, I don't know where, it hasn't been a discussion at the committee level about this yet, but perfectly amenable. Like, if the rest of council also wants to be sure that they see every application that comes in, we can certainly have those visible to all of council. So it wouldn't be like we'll be seeing any information that the rest of you can't see, but we'll just take on the responsibility to work with staff to look at that and bring forward a suggested slate. It may very well be we have an exact number of people volunteering as slots, and this will be a super easy job. But, in case it's not, none of that information would be hidden from the rest of council. We would just take on the work with staff to do it.
Okay.
I just, are the members of all these committees, are these committees and their members who they, I'm looking on the website now, volunteer boards and committees. Is that where that is found? Because I remember at some point looking for appeals board or something, and I couldn't find it. Very likely was operator error, but is there an easy way on our website to know who's who with their term dates and all of that?
That's actually in the NECAP report. We're actually doing a new slide sheet of all of them, the 5 categories. It's in draft right now with Shelley. She's got it probably 80–90% done, but that was one of the things they wanted updated. And when that happens, we're going to take down a lot of the places where you can find it ancillarily, so that people will know there's one good location for it to look to.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Mitch. Next up for a presentation is a Your Voice Matters presentation from Cody Vigu.
Hi, everyone. Cody Vigu, Community Engagement Director. So what you're seeing here in front of you, what you've seen here is a look back at almost the last 4 months in my role and kind of I'll go through it more of a summary fashion and leave questions for the end in a brief way here. So the beginning just talks a little bit about why it would be called Your Voice Matters, because it's aligning your council goals with my role essentially. And of course, that is bringing ideas to life, listening to everyone, making engagement easy, and stewarding our resources. So one of your major goals being community engagement and community engagement director. So, and then we move into the tools I get to use every day for to leverage community engagement. So starting with social media, I just did a little bit of breakdown of department wide what we have going on, and I counted for followers. And so you can see the outlier being the police department. So there's a secret in there for to 10,000 to our average 3,000, but I haven't tapped into that yet. Maybe it's free donuts per follow. I don't know. Well, on the back of this, you'll see, I also looked a little bit at the last 3 months and the posts I have been making and kind of the engagement we're getting and the increases. So you'll see a lot of up arrows, which is cool because what I try to do is post every day, post variety and learn what people are looking for and stick with that. And you'll also see the top is Facebook, the bottom's Instagram. And so you kind of get a feel for the crowds on each platform is a little bit different. Some people might like more feel good stories on Instagram and they might go more to Facebook about the weather advisory. So you kind of learn those habits and even a little bit more analytics about best times to post in your audience. So you get to have a little fun that way. And I try to get creative with the variety as well. All right. And the next part is breaking down those tools further. So our website, of course, talked a little bit about how we like to utilize the homepage in the best way we can, as it is where people land. So for folks familiar, we have 6 boxes on the front, and we try to keep them direct people to our most important information, what we think people want to go to the most, and then quick links on the side that include getting to agendas, for example. And so talk a little bit about the calendar widget, agenda center, graphics and buttons, social media feeds. This is all accessible on the homepage. And of course, it's a constant retooling of the website since I started. Just a minute ago, Leo, you talked about not being able to find something. I'm always trying to make note of that. And what we want is a website that's a great resource for people. And that includes our calendar. I'm trying to make that more robust for people to rely on, not only meeting times when they change, for example, for this month, but we just want that to be a good resource for people to go and know what's going on. And that way we can tell people orno.org/calendar, go there and find out what's going on. The next part is newsletters and alerts. Of course, pretty well known is the Orono Observer. The latest issue was my first go at it. And I kind of highlighted some of the numbers here. We distribute to over 3,000 households, 10 local businesses advertised, and I had the number there of how much was sold. And that pays for approximately 68% of the printing and mailing process. So that's not too bad. We have other tools that can be accessed through the website, Notify Me and Orono alerts, notification-based services that people can give us their email or cell phone. And for example, when we post an event on the calendar, we hit a send button, and whoever wants to know and subscribes to our calendar will get that notification. Next up would be press releases and campaigns. I'm looking forward to the collaboration with the police department and the Orono Stops campaign. I have a lot of ideas for that, and I'm guessing a lot more will be coming up with the warmer months ahead. And I talked a little bit about spring safety awareness letter that I've drafted up, which includes the topic of Main Day of Service. These are just a few ways that we can get things out to the public and to our neighbors. The next part would be video content. What we're doing right now is broadcasting over YouTube, switch from Facebook, which seems to be going well and allows for YouTube to be just the hub for all things video content. Over 1,000 views in the last 90 days on our content. And of course, we keep Zoom participation for virtual access, which is great for a night like this. For example, we posted earlier today reminding people to do so if they don't feel safe coming out. And a little bit of more of the miscellaneous down the bottom. Newly implemented visual gear in the small conference room, which was just used for the first time with finance and operations. So I hope you guys found that useful. And we've done a lot of software research. starting with customer relationship management software, which, for example, would allow residents to see a pothole in town, pull out their phone, take a picture of it, send it, and it would go to the proper channels for us to take care of and give that communication channel back and forth. Very useful. And some things for back of house include some agenda management, capital planning, budgeting software, all of which is benefiting staff efficiency, transparency, and presentation to the public. The digital message board remains a great tool. It was fun to be able to come in today and put champions live here with a blue background. Of course, we know what that meant. And then things like the relation, hey, right there it is, Dan. And then that allows for the relationship with the school, for example, that we put the students of the month on there, and it's something that the community knows about, and I like to be able to provide that. And then I have a little bit at the bottom about that, about the UMaine one as well. But another one is just what I do is I keep a social media communications calendar, and I've started to create reoccurring events. So every year, and it allows you to not, you have a better time not missing an event and just keeping track of things. So I know I cruised through that, but as we develop and expand our strategies and initiatives, what approaches might also support council's goals? I know regarding surveys, we've talked about flash vote. I did some research on that. I'd also like to know if we're looking, that's a much more comprehensive tool than maybe a yes or no kind of survey would be. So we can talk a little bit more about that. And on my own page, I added, for example, for the UMaine hockey welcome, when the street was lined with people, it is a great opportunity for us to get that messaging out. So better communication on the back end, and we would do so. And so looking forward to making those new connections with people and creating those avenues.
Great. Anybody have some questions? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I guess I'll just say you're juggling a lot of different projects and initiatives, and you're doing a great job. I've really enjoyed seeing all the content you're putting out on the social media accounts, on everything. I'm especially excited about the potential of the customer relationship management software research you're doing around trying to create new pathways for people in town to be able to bring their concerns directly where they are most appropriate to go, to make sure that their concerns are being met. I'm also really interested to see how else we can get feedback from people with these potential survey tools that you're looking into. But overall, I mean, I'm just really pleased with the work you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Anybody else have? I have a comment and a couple questions.
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job. And I think you're a good fit for the town office, and you seem to get us, which I like a lot. You seem, and I really enjoy the comfort that we have with staff, Clint, under your leadership, and the chance we have to engage. I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on mobile functionality with the website in terms of, is our website conducive to mobile in your opinion, or do we have, well, I think I have an opinion because I'm asking the question, but what do you think?
I haven't done a full breakdown of it. I know
Yeah.
Civic Plus is, they put a lot of emphasis on mobile friendly and ADA compliance.
Yeah.
So if we're beyond that and from what you've seen, then maybe we're a little bit behind on what they've updated for us. So it's something I'll look into.
I won't call anyone out and, on mic, and I would not do that, but I had to go back to an observer from like a quarter or two ago to get a date when something was happening, as opposed to it's just kind of those kinds of things that, so that I think that's an opportunity for us.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I don't know where we are on the flash vote and the survey items. I think we got to talk about that some more in terms of, but I do think so much of kind of the traditional ways of communicating, and it's kind of why the Your Voice Matters was, I think, we developed that, was that I think a lot of the traditional ways that institutions communicate with their stakeholders are outdated and too passive. And I really encourage us to think about, I love that at 9 o'clock in the morning, Brian and Andrea can get it. Let's welcome the team back from the championship. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a parade. So I love that kind of, and I'd like us to think more and more about how we micro target and build channels where we can communicate with the constituents or stakeholders where
Yeah.
something matters the most to. You know, it's no, I mean, we heard from a constituent today who didn't feel they had enough engagement around a decision, a planning board decision. And, you know, I think a postcard to the property owner of record is not a particularly effective way. If I knew I needed to reach Paul, that wouldn't be how I reach, that wouldn't how I'd reach out to him. And I think we need to think, not just in this instance, but in, you know, moving forward, I think we need to think about those terms, make sure there's awareness. Because one of the biggest challenges that institutions have when they make decisions in a, you know, a public decision-making process is a breakdown in the process where people feel like they weren't heard or didn't have a chance to participate. Because that's when, you know, you get comments like tonight, and those are tough to refute. So I'd like us to think in those terms, and I know we are. So that's what I have, and I'm really impressed with the work you're doing, and I'm really glad you're part of the team.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
When Dan was talking, I first wanted to say, well, we can't really always abandon those traditional venues either, because there is a segment of the population that is going to get a letter and that's all they're following. But as you were talking, I think you actually made a good point.
Hey, I
but-
talk long enough. I'm
Well,
bound to back into one.
It did make me
Yeah.
think of what the school does and what they have. And I don't know this, I mean, it sounds kind of extreme on its surface, but they're all call system where they when you have a number, hey, the meeting's tonight at 5, or, you know,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. They'd use it for school cancellations, which we may see too few many of these days, but side note. But I think that's worth consideration too for, you'd have to figure out how to use it, but I mean, I think you actually make a very good point. I wanted to get that in there and say something positive, Dan.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
Leo. I appreciate that. That's good communication. And finally, I would say one more point I made when, on the off chance it might be a good one. I love the Observer. I think there's a lot of people really value it. I love getting it. I think it's a conversation starter, and I'd like us to think about how do we replicate that kind of connectivity with residents who aren't on that 3,000, you know, who aren't on that mailing list. And I'm talking primarily about people that don't live here a long time, but we want them to make the most out of the time that they do spend with us. So, and that's new channels and fun stuff. And I know you're thinking about those kinds of things. So,
I just want to say thank you for taking care of social media. That is not something that is my forte. So thank you.
Thanks, man.
do you have any questions for us?
Oh, no, just that final, just what we've been discussing is,
Sarah's got one more, I think.
It's just what you were saying, just the final thing we're discussing. I agree with what everyone said, by the way. So excellent. Great to have you on board. I really appreciated this report. It gave me lots of data that I didn't know up till now, which was really helpful to also see as a counselor. And as others have said, I'm really excited by some of the stuff that you're researching along with other staff. I think the CRM, customer relationship stuff, sounds really interesting. And speaking just only for myself, the little bit of conversation I've now had with staff since I last asked for some update on flash vote, I am of the opinion from what I've heard so far that I don't think we need something as extensive as what the flash vote is, which seems to me like it and correct me, please, somebody, if I have it wrong, but what I've understood is that it actually creates like sample demographic groups and only polls people within that sample to get data. And I'm not thinking that's probably what Orono wants. I think we're mostly a community that likes everybody to be polled and everyone who wants to respond to have a chance to do that. So I'm just grateful that you're looking into other tools and I assume in the future, we'll be bringing us back some kind of comparison about what might give us just the simple yes, no kind of surveys we were looking for where everyone could respond to them. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Cody.
thank you.
Next up on our agenda is acknowledgements by counselors, and we'll start with Counselor Larway.
Well, as we can see today, it's snowing once more. We've had a pretty snowy winter, and I'll just repeat one that I've been saying a lot lately, which is my appreciation for Public Works and all the great extra time they're putting in to make sure that our roads are safe and clear. And similar to something I raised a few weeks ago, just want to acknowledge again the concerns of many in our community about the stability of the rule of law in our nation.
Councilor Marks.
This is one of those weeks where I feel like I could thank. This is one of those weeks where I feel like there's something to thank in every department, but I'll try not to do that. I won't repeat ones that have already happened. I did want to say that I have been hearing from lots of folks on Webster side that Public Works, I mentioned a while back, went in and cleaned out all the invasives, but it's really noticeable now at the end of that work. The river views are really spectacular. So if you don't live on Webster side and you haven't seen what the park looks like, I would really encourage people to come over and enjoy the terrific work that folks have done. And before I remembered that Cody was presenting, it was on my list to say thank you about the new calendar. I know we've had one, but it's right on the homepage now. If you just scroll down a little below those boxes, and I've been using it a ton, and it's really versatile and has a lot of things centralized that I used to have to search for around. So big thanks on that to staff.
Councilor Kenny. And Andrea, we're going to do you last right before me.
I didn't think I'd get to do this one, but I want to officially acknowledge our Black Bear Hockey East champs and wish them great success as they go to the national tournament. And I would also want to acknowledge our public safety. I don't know if I saw Public Works trucks in that procession or not. I wasn't home, so I watched it online, but public safety jumped to and put together an awesome welcome home for the team. And it's great seeing many people I grew up with that are away that are sharing that thing, and I guess and proud to see it. It's proud to see the town responding that way. So I want to acknowledge Public Works for their efforts there too.
Councilor Powers.
I live on Main Street, and so I was able to see all of them go by. It was a ton of fun, and we rang the bell. I saw the public safety, most of the public safety vehicles, I believe, from Orono. I saw the ones from Old Town. I saw police cars, most of them. It was really a lot of fun. Go Black Bears, thank you. And also I just want to say thanks to the fire department guys who were out here shoveling as I was walking up and throwing down salt. Thank you.
Councilor Hardison.
Trying to find the unmute button. I think everybody's covered it all. And Cody, thank you for sharing all of that information and working so hard on the social media. And go Blue.
Go Blue. I wanted to thank everyone who turned out for our Orono Festival Days workshop. We had our first workshop last week. We've got another meeting with folks from the university next week to talk about next steps, and we'll have another meeting scheduled for a little less than a month from now for the workshop. There seems to be some good energy and a lot of good ideas about what we can do. And I think a lot of times the stuff we publicize and talk about and get people to attend are kind of the fun side of government. I also want to thank the chairs of our council committees. We're doing a lot of grown up, grinded out government. It's a little behind the scenes because people don't see it. We're going to hear about it some from Councilor Marks. But the Community Development Committee, the Finance Committee, the Ordinance Committee, and the NECAP Committee are doing a lot of really good work with the support of staff that I think we're going to be really proud of it when it's all done, and the improvements it makes to how we make decisions together in Orono, and the efficiency with which we do it. So I'm really grateful for all that leadership and all those contributions. I don't chair one of those committees, so I'm not patting myself on the back. That wasn't a humble brag in any way. Next up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is an opportunity for us to move and vote on things in a single action item. Any member, any town councilor, or any member of the public who's here or online could ask us to remove an item from the consent agenda and vote on it as a separate new action item. With that in mind, could I get, with that proviso, could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yep. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Oh,
In
that's
favor.
right. Yeah, we do. Sorry. Thank you, Leo. I don't
I'm
say that
agreeing,
often
but-
enough. Yeah. What's that, Andrea?
I said, I agree. Yes.
Approve. All right. Councilor Larway,
In favor.
Councilor Marks,
In favor.
Councilor Demerit is in favor. Councilor Kenny,
In favor.
Councilor Powers.
In favor.
But I've got an agenda in front, that's unanimous, 6-0. I have 2 screens and a paper agenda, my own thoughts. All right. Next up, we're going to do some action items. The first one is Order 2561, order authorizing the town manager to sign an agreement with the Regional School Unit 26, RSU 26, for the Orono Police Department School Resource Officer Program. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Okay, now that puts it on the table. We're going to hear from staff. Then we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll have council discussion.
Good evening.
Chief Merrill.
Dan Merrill, Police Chief. So this is something we just wanted to bring forward, something that I think kind of came up with Clint's arrival, that we haven't renewed the contract with the school in a few years. So we just wanted to bring it forward and let council know, and there's no substantive changes to it. It's pretty much very similar to what we've used in years past. It's operationally working and functioning. I think it's a good partnership with the school, so we just wanted to bring it forward. Any questions?
One addition, we're going to try to do this annually through consent calendars. If there's substantive changes, then obviously it wouldn't be on a consent calendar.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Any comments from the public? Any discussion from council? We had a presentation on this a year and a half ago, maybe, and I think it's a phenomenal resource. I was really, really impressed by what it is that we offer our kids through this program. So with that, we have to vote, the roll call vote, and we'll start with Councilor Larway.
In favor.
Councilor Marks.
In favor.
Councilor Merritt's in favor. Councilor Kenny. Councilor Powers.
In favor.
Councilor Hardison.
In favor.
Great. Thank you. That's unanimous. Thanks, Dan. And
Over here.
they're staying right up here, right? Order 2562, order authorizing the town manager to submit an application to the State of Maine Public Safety Health and Wellness Reimbursement Fund grant for the Sigma Tactical Wellness System, accepting any funds awarded, and further authorizing the town manager to expend such funds in accordance with the grant. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Chief Merrill.
So this is an opportunity, as the process exists right now, to just bring it forward to council to seek permission from you guys to apply for this grant. The deadline is tomorrow. Essentially what it is it's a regional grant that we're going to work on in partnership with communities like VZ, Hamden, Lincoln, Old Town, to seek services of it's a physical screening of sorts that's very specific towards public safety. We've talked about it before. There's specific stressors and things that people in public safety go through, both police and fire, that are a little different than people that aren't in our job, right? We have higher risk of heart attacks. The fire service has, cancers through some of the exposures they have and stuff like that. So this grant, if awarded, would help us, or would allow all the staff for the police and the fire department to get screening if they select to help get us a better idea of where we might stand from a physical standpoint. It's way more in depth than like a physical that you get at your doctor's office. This is a presentation I've seen at a Chiefs convention a few years ago, and it was something where I was like blown away, and I was like, I really need to make this happen, but it's a money thing like most things, right? And then when this grant opportunity came up and this was an eligible thing, we're like jumped on it. So the reason why it's a regional grant too is because it's going to be awarded by the state of Maine. And you get points. There's a point system essentially that they laid out for how you get approved for the grant, and doing a collaborative public safety and regionalized grant scores you more points for the application. So we're trying to really line up our ducks as much as we can to get awarded this grant, because $2 million in funding for the entire state. They're actually expecting it to be under or not funding several projects. So, they're starting with this, and then in years to come, if they give them more funding, then hopefully it can be something that happens annually.
Yep. Any direct questions from counselors?
I don't have any questions, but I'll just say I grew up in a fire department family, and I grew up knowing a lot of folks with varying health issues, and as a result of being exposed to the kind of hazards that they are. So I'm really happy to support this.
Have you thought about, how do you think about, like, to the extent you get, ideally everyone gets a perfect bill of health, right? And but we're doing this because there's a concern that obviously some of our first responders won't get a clean bill of health. And the data from the report was pretty alarming. What do you think the philosophy is for the department around supporting people as you get when you get the feedback? I mean, is it something, are people on their own when you get the results, or is it part of the department's job to help people kind of work through those? Can get on a track to wellness or health, health?
I think that this is just like anything else when it comes to people's health, right? This is an opportunity for staff to take a critical look at where they might stand. And I know that, like I said, I'm a huge proponent of this. I'm a huge proponent of supporting staff, and my approach is I'd rather know something may be going awry and be able to take a proactive approach as opposed to being reactive, because we're behind the power curve. If we don't know what's going on inside of us, there's like specific testing, there's lipid testing that they do and stuff like that could. The one thing I remember the presentation I saw was they had somebody who was like a picture of who you would think is health, a marathon runner. He'd been around for 20 plus years, and he had this thing tested, and he went through this test, and they asked him like, when was his last heart attack? He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm in great shape. But there's this calcification that happens inside of us that you can't get unless you go through some specific testing. And, I'd like to know that. So the support, none of this is mandatory. So this is completely voluntary for staff, because I want to get their buy-in as much as we can so that they're healthy and productive employees.
Correct me, Council Chair. I just wanted to ask, the data is specific to the individuals is confidential and protected by HIPAA. You will have departmental information, but no employees will be shared publicly, so that,
Right.
or even within the department, that's their own information
Right.
and their own medical issues to deal with. But what you could find is there's flags within the entire department.
Yeah.
That we could start to do training and planning and education around.
Huh.
That would move the whole department, but it's not so much singular in nature.
Right.
What our hopes are is it would be shared with each individual through their medical providers, that they maybe would take
Yeah.
personal action as well.
Could they come forward, and speak to their supervisor about, hey, I'm having this?
Oh, always. Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
The employees come to us with any issues. We work with them as much as possible to try to be accommodating.
It seems like the right approach. So thank you. Yep.
Yeah, so that's why I said I
Yeah.
lead from the front, 100% getting this done. And if staff comes to us with any concerns or things are brought up, I think that obviously we'll work with the manager's office, and we'll do what we can as much as possible.
Great. That's good to hear. Is there any questions or comment from the public? Any further discussion from council?
No, just full support of this. I think it's great that the initiative's being taken. I'm curious, there's a new OSHA that's being talked about. I don't know if that's just fire or if that's police and fire, which presumably, I think it has some of this stuff sort of in it as well. As far as these numbers, by the way, are staggering and frightening in this report. But there is a new OSHA stuff being discussed. Does that apply to police or just fire?
I don't know off the top of my head specifically what you're referencing, so I couldn't speak educatedly to it.
But
being
either,
honest.
this is, I'm glad to see this happening and getting in
It's
front of
something,
it.
yeah. I hope we get awarded the grant, because financially it's not a cheap program, but I am full support that this is you get what you pay for type program.
I'm glad that we were able to coordinate with other agencies to put a stronger grant together too. That's good to hear. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Council Larway,
In favor.
Council Marks,
Favor.
Council Demaris in favor, Council Kenny,
In favor?
Council Powers,
In favor.
Council Hardison.
In favor.
Amanda, what do you think? You're good too? No, that's unanimous, 6-0. I've been waiting to do that for a while. That's 6-0 approval. So thanks so much for bringing that forward.
Thank you for allowing us to do this. We
Yeah.
appreciate it for sure.
Sure. I know the turnaround time on that grant was pretty quick too. So this is not like one of those last minute things. It was a couple weeks ago it first came out. So that was order 2562. Unanimous plus Amanda. Then we're gonna go to. Is that it? Now we'll go to council committee reports. Nice. Council committee report. We'll do a community development committee first. Mr. Powers.
Yeah, I'd just want to say, Dan led us off on a fantastic meeting on the 18th of March. He's already given us a little synopsis on it, and we had a great primer and history of Orono days going back officially, I think, to the 70s and unofficially maybe to the 50s or 60s. And it was really interesting to hear all the different things that have been incorporated into Orono Festival Days. And we are currently compiling information on kind of what the community is looking at for a resurrection of the Orono Festival Days, including, you know, making sure this is a place that is going to be an event that all families will want to go to, and hopefully that we can get buy-in from university students. So, and we have another meeting with university people coming up. Is there anything else you want to talk?
I think that's pretty
And,
good.
Yeah,
Good.
Dan did a great job leading that discussion. Thank you.
Yep. You said that at the beginning, but I appreciate you saying it at the end too. You missed it in the middle, but
I'm buttering him up because we're going to the I think a brew pub. for
Maybe,
the
yeah,
next
I'm gonna
one.
talk- I'm gonna talk
trying to
about
get
that in a little
maybe
bit.
maybe a beer out of this.
all right. Jacob's not here. He's his wife is defending. Well, I don't. Well, it's a big news. It's a big day for their family, and Jacob's there, and I'm happy for them. Is there a update from Finance and Operations Committee?
I don't mind. We had a meeting today. We went over revenue sharing. More information will be coming out. That's also plans to make that a component of our budget processes going forward. That was kind of where we were going, and finance got delving into it. We also updated their two current topics are spending limits, and we're looking at that. We actually reviewed one on an actual lease option. We're going to agreed we'll put that on the consent calendar. I may have to follow up with the committee because we found out that the discount that we will get for that purchase expires 2 weeks before. And I found that out right after we met. So we'll talk a little bit more about that soon. And it was a good one, 20%, 18% range. The other one is the fire station. We are meeting. KCI gave an update to Jacob and I. They've got more research to do on how they're going to do their funding and operations. They also want to get moving on the foundation. They're proposing an MOU that's maybe as a gap towards the eventual deed with the restrictions. We received this morning a draft of the deed and all the restrictions and things that would go with that, but I gotta go, I haven't even read it. Came in late. It came in at a point where I just couldn't read it. So I got to get that off to Jacob and the committee. But I think the understanding here is that there's more work to be done and we're progressing. It's just taking a lot more time than we thought.
And maybe important to note that we're talking about the old firehouse
Oh,
over
yeah.
in
We're
Webster
not
side,
selling
not
new-
that there's no foundation problem
Well.
on our existing fire station.
Sit tight, Tommy. Yeah, you're all set.
And
Yeah.
almost got away with it.
All right. Anything else on finance? Nope. Nominations, evaluations, and council policies committee.
Yes. So you already heard that we'll be working with staff on the recommended slate to bring forward for open committee and board seats back to council. And the other part is really this report that is attached. This committee, we decided to do a 6-month check-in about how we were doing on all of the NECAP recommendations from the fall. I think Rob put it really well when he summed up, the recommendations in the fall had 2 equal goals. One was efficiency of council moving things forward in a timely fashion, and the other was engagement and transparency to the community. And so all the recommendations connect to one or the other or both of those. They're actually often overlapping. And we went through the 61 entire recommendations to see where we were at 6 months through the year. The goal is to get them all done in a year, and found that 52 out of 61 are done, which is pretty great for 6 months into the year. And of the top 8 recommendations, only 1 has not been fully implemented yet. And that is the one about info pages and perhaps videos and just ways to make it clearer to the community how to get involved in various processes and understand various processes. So that is already being talked about and worked on by staff, but we're just in the beginning stages of a lot of that. So it's not something that there hasn't been any motion on, but it certainly is one where we haven't yet completed it. I would like to point out that of the 9 of the 61 that are not done yet, all of those are partway done. Nothing has been no motion on at all. Like there has been some movement or some step staff has taken or the committee has taken, and things are all moving. So I think it's a great process to check in when we make this many recommendations to ourselves to make sure we're following through on them. So grateful to the committee for that, and especially grateful to the staff because the heavy lifting has largely come from them also on implementing and getting things in place. So questions? I don't know. Are there any? Are we good?
I thought the report was, I'm glad we got the report on the agenda. I read through it over the weekend and I think it's just phenomenal work. So thank you. Ordinance Review Committee, Rob?
Yeah, so we met last week. Feels like already a while ago. We discussed the general assistance, the changes to ordinances about general assistance, trying to bring ourselves back into compliance. I think the last time that ordinances were updated to be in compliance was in 1994, 96. I forget which Shelley said. So we've still been operating policy-wise in compliance, but it creates some liabilities and issues. So the full council will soon be seeing the proposed changes to make it easier for us to update our all of our policies and stuff regarding general assistance. We also got a brief update about some research amongst staff that Shelley's doing around business licensing practices. Our ordinances are sort of scattered throughout dealing with issues of business licensing and just trying to bring ourselves again into legal compliance, remove liabilities, and also just like clean things up, bring things up to date. We also discussed the Chapter 30 solid waste issue that was first raised by Councilor Kenny. And one thing that we were grappling with was the fact that Chapter 30 solid waste, let me back up. Part of the ordinance review committee's charge is to figure out our calendar, our schedule for when we're going to be reviewing periodically all of the ordinances to make sure that everything's to date, doing what we want it to do. And Chapter 30 is relatively low priority as identified by staff. And we take staff input very seriously. And it's not that we shouldn't get into Chapter 30 yet, but the issue that raised Chapter 30 to this committee's awareness was a fairly specific one within that chapter. And what we discussed was, even though often we want to be, when we're opening something up, we want to tackle the whole thing at once, it would create a lot of work for staff on something that otherwise isn't necessarily a priority to bring to the front of the line. So we're considering, and we're going to talk a little bit more at the next meeting about possibly dealing with that more specific question that Councilor Kenny raised. And I'm curious to hear from any councilors who aren't on that committee how you feel about that as a sort of exceptional approach to our general attempt to try to dig things open and be thorough. And the other thing that we're going to be working on, and I think I have on my own work plan, is to take a crack at looking at the priorities of the calendar as was set up by Shelley and other staff, and figure out a proposal for how we're going to order this and whether or not we're going to go with a 4-year or a 5-year cycle. So there's lots of questions, lots of things that we're discussing. And I did share a document with you all, and I did get questions about access to that document. I asked Shelley to make sure that all councilors have access to that. So if you go back to that, maybe Shelley's gotten to it, I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure she will be right on top of it. So I think that's everything from ordinance review.
Good update. Thank you. Matt, DEIB committee?
We are continuing with community engagement. One way is with Summer Sunderland's book club, and also we are continuing to update the mandate that we will pass on to the committee. This is to align with recommendations that came out of a facilitated meeting with both the staff and also with our committee, and also to take out some of the anachronistic language that is now there that no longer is necessary.
Okay, thank you. Council chair update. I've got 2 items, one here and one not here in the agenda. We've been talking about in the council leadership meetings and with Clint, we've been talking about how to we're doing work in the NESAP committee about resolutions that the council would consider and how we move those forward. And, you know, where we want to spend our limited time together, voicing councils, you know, where we think we have standing, where we don't, and, you know, trying to, and the right way to look at those and bring those forward. We want everyone to be heard, we want every voice to matter in Orono. And sometimes that answer may be a no, you know, if it's just not something that the council feels it has standing or expertise or position to take. We've had a couple recent ones. We had a member of the public who's here with us tonight, talked with us about rail and supporting a proposal in the legislature. We've not brought forward a resolution on that or a letter on that. And we've also had a letter about supporting a piece of legislation having to do with historical preservation tax credits. And we just didn't bring it forward as a, you know, it takes considerable amount of time to draft one of these resolutions, work it through, even though I think our process is pretty quick. So to the extent that, and we've had times where, you know, Jacob did want a resolution earlier this year on the Stillwater Lights, the appreciation to Tony and his family for the work they do. So we're trying to find our way there, and I just wanted to share that, you know, if there's something that councilors feel strongly about and want to hear from a member of the public, either here at the podium or through email, and want to move it forward, I encourage you to do it and kind of put your shoulder to the wheel like Jacob did on the Stillwater Lights. But if not, we're going to make some kind of judgment calls until we have a policy in place. Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in, though, that we, like, at the moment still have a policy on our website, which, so for members of the community, there is a process there that outlines how a member of the community should proceed if you don't have a counselor who wants to move it forward, what you should do as a community member. And that will be updated once NECAP takes a look at it. So I'm betting in a couple months that'll be updated, but the current one is still in effect until we update. So
Okay.
as much as we can follow it. I mean, some committees don't exist in their same format, but the community part, I think, is fairly straightforward. So.
I will say in the historic preservation, I talked to Dan about this, there is a letter that the town managers are signing on to, because for communities that support housing, and since there's a council goal and everything was consistent with our current comp plan, support of housing and growing in the downtown, we did sign on for that reason. It's a tool that we think is a great resource for people that want to develop Orono's downtown.
And that's a good little pro tip. If you've got something where you want busy town managers or town councils to sign on to, if you've got it drafted, when you ask, it's not a bad way to really kind of put it in front of them.
Will that, new policy in months, will that happen, where? Here at the council? Will that happen in? Yeah,
So all we'll do is bring you a proposal. We'll talk about it as a committee and bring a proposal back for how to adjust. The current policy at the bottom references like a process of moving through council committees and workshops that used to exist when our committees had all council members on them. Right. So we're trying to take a look at that and make sure it gets adjusted in such a way that where all of the council was supposed to be read in, all of the council is actually read in, not just a subcommittee. Does that make sense, Leo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I do, I'm in the past, I'm not a huge, the resolutions that where we don't have standing, I think we've done those, and I don't know, I hope that there'll be real consideration given to whether it's germane to town business or the town, and not a feel-good thing for people to come in and do a resolution from a town, because I don't think 6 of us or 7 of us should be necessarily speaking on behalf of 11,000 for social issues. I think our function is the business of the town, not, you smile down there. I see you. Go ahead, Rob.
Just because I know we're in regular disagreement about that issue.
Anyway, thank you, Leo. I made a note. I already was aware, but I wrote it again. Thanks.
Okay. The second item that I wanted to ask the council about this, because I'm really I was perplexed. Clint had a really good catch for me. At our workshop on Orono Festival Days, we had the general manager from Marsh Island was here, and we suggested that we hold our next meeting at Marsh Island. And I'm all about it because I think it would be fun. And I just got my mug, and I'm kind of excited about having my mug. Did you really? but you already got it? You didn't have to wait 2 or 3 years? All right. But anyway, so, hey, Laura. Clint had a good catch about it. And looking at it from an equity lens, I thought about, this is the place where we provide the most access to our meetings and discussions. Is a work group the same thing as it's not a committee meeting, it's a work group meeting, but there are counselors present. It's a function of the town. And I wanted to get other people's input on whether if we should move it back here to this venue. Because I truly am and I think about that when we've done that work with the DEIB work that we did with the consultant who was great. And that fence, when you're kind of lowering the fence for everybody so they can see over it, as opposed to giving people stools and stumps to stand on. And so I just wanted other people's opinions about whether it made sense to.
I was there. I like the idea, but I think it's a valid point to suggest that it probably should happen here, to be candid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got excited.
I know.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Is that you?
I'm indifferent in terms, and maybe we'll go afterwards.
Okay.
I think it sounds fun, but I think there are reasons to bring it back here. So I think that makes sense.
Yep. Rob or Andrea, do you have anything? No. All right. I think in that case, I think we'll move it to, and thank you, Clint. That was a good catch. And, we're getting better together on stuff like that. So thank you.
Just as a side note, I do want to, in any way I can, support the businesses here. And the decision here is not because we don't want to full-throatedly endorse our wonderful businesses, including OBC. That is not an issue. I don't think any of us, but just to make that clear, we're all pro the businesses and we'll throw our weight behind it when it's appropriate.
Yeah. And this is just the right venue for access for anybody who, you invite everybody, but not everyone will be able to attend because of the event, for whatever reason, then. So thank you for that. That was helpful. And thank you to Clint for catching that. Now a much more, a town manager's report.
This one seemed to grow on me. So
Yeah, it did. I love it.
Well,
You're doing a good job.
well, a lot to share, and I want to make sure you're well informed. So the public safety grant, I ended up leaving that on, and this just shows you, and I want to thank the staff for all their hard work. This was originally reserved, and it was going to be the Sigma one that you just approved. We decided to move that to an action item, but as luck would have it, last minute, we also had another grant notification come in from the fire department through Maine EMS that we've been allocated through the 131st legislature funding across the state. The town is eligible for 34,000 and change, but we still have to apply. So we put in our application for the full amount. It's regarding training and also will allow for some equipment, but it's all about sustainability of EMS services. So they have applied for that. There's no match this year. So I do have a letter on that. If that is approved, we will have to get that in front of you for the accept and approve votes. But this is your notification. Sometimes we do them at once. Sometimes they're like this. Just thought I'd let you know. We are going to be closing the offices on April 2nd for our annual cabin fever reliever. Just love the alliteration of that one. It's just a nice, but it'll be from 11 to 1. We're working on some fun stuff here as a staff, maybe some sort of a game and contest. I believe there's a trophy that floats around. We've broken ourselves up into, I believe, 4 teams. They don't necessarily make sense, but they're 4 teams. Police and fire are each a team, and then wastewater, I think, ended up with library, and the town office ended up with public works, or the library ended up with, I don't know. We broke them up to be 4 equal teams, but so looking forward to that. But we will be closing from 11 to 1 on April 2nd. And we chose that because the day before we were in April Fools, and no one would believe that we were closing. So, Stillwater Avenue property update. Which Stillwater Avenue property? I gotta remember which one's what. Was that you? That was yours.
I think you just wanted to talk about, we're getting a lot of inquiries on that property and clear that up.
That's right. Yes.
We're happy to hear from people.
This is a not report.
Yeah.
It is not, to our knowledge, going to be a solar field. There's been a lot of inquiries about whether it's going to be a solar field. There are no applications, no projects identified for it all. They cleared it per permits, but again, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I'm been asked so many times, maybe we should repeat one more time publicly that Stillwater Ave is not a solar field, nor have we heard anything of that nature. I would say from conversations with Versant, solar fields are kind of they're not happening as frequently right now. So we probably aren't going to see as many of those anyway. But the next one's Wabanaki Interpretive Plan Update. They are starting their process, and I've had to reserve about a day and a half. I'll be going around with them and meeting with them, talking about what they see, but I got to spend the day with the manager. They want to have that level of involvement just to kind of show things as they go through the community with their board. I want to make sure the council is aware of that time that I'd be putting in with them. But I'm very much looking forward to spending a day with what appears to be a very strong panel of people.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, budget update. So the capital improvement plan draft is finished as we speak. You do not have it yet. We've made a change here today because we were going to bind it and get it out to council, but it's a draft. So we're approaching this, that we're going to email it to you tomorrow. We will have printed copies unbound, but the goal is that we will bind it when it's finished and approved. It will become an insert into the budget book itself. I've met with most of you. A capital improvement plan has the word plan in it. It's not your budget. The plan will be taken out for the 1 year and taken to your budget as your starting point. But if you're going to amend a single year budget for the plan, it happens during your budget process. So that's kind of a good thing. This kind of as I share, the should do is what you're looking at. It's been a challenging process, and we're definitely in a bridge year and growing. There's a lot more here than we could do to meet the goals of staff and council for what this should be. But we made I'm very proud of the staff and the leap forward we've made. It's a lot of new, good information. Just don't think this is a refined product of years and years approaching it from the everything perspective. This is from the, how do we get our head around everything? And we realized it was too big. We need to get a little bit more focused on it. So it's a step forward, and we're going to keep building as years come. With that same vein, it is a little bit behind. I think you're going to find that as we move into the budget process, it's just been a bigger undertaking this year. We still have good plans. You may find in your budget calendar that we're going to slide the day that you would see the first budget draft by about a week or so. We were going to post for public ready. It's just not going to be, it's going to be close to that date. It won't be dead on. We're going to have a hard time hitting it, but I would aim more towards April 14th or 21st is when that will be ready and prepared. And that still aligns with all our budget calendars. So this one, I'm going to lean on Mitch a little bit again, but the update on Bangor Gas is there's been some questions about that. That was the project that predates me being here, and there was a question about a facility going in at the old gas station, service station that was there when I was a student and was there for years, but they proposed a substation for Bangor Gas there. Bangor Gas has been purchased by Unitil. Staff has met with Unitil, and they are also, through all their processes, going through their legal and planning departments to look at all projects that are still out there. So this is one that they're also taking some time to review as well. But we've been told recently that the judge that this has been left with, that was going to make a decision quite some time ago, has brought everybody in to talk about the process moving forward. So we're awaiting maybe a more official update that could become public information. But again, there's not a whole lot there at this point. And again, there's been some requests. We might want to talk about this more in the future. But again, with things that are going on, seems to be more of a patience is a virtue moment to see if we can learn more before we had a better meeting. The Orono Health Associations, I've directed staff, I've had some conversations. We are not going to pursue a lease right now. General direction with the support of council leadership and your chair and vice chair is to focus on the old fire station. And then, so what we are doing is we've agreed to a rental extension with them in that for no additional cost. They're going to take some days, on Wednesdays, they're going to take over the downstairs, and a little bit more on the weekends so that they can do more with their food cupboard. And so we're going to be very supportive of it. Kind of would say you can do this for the next year or so. And then more formally, we're going to review it once we get outside of this year's budget and some other projects start to come off. It's a good decision with work planning to free up projects before we take on new ones. So that's kind of how we approached it. Appreciate the leadership for doing that.
So no, in no way reflective of a not supporting
Oh, no way.
all that stuff. It's
They're
just,
getting 100% of what they asked for. It's just not a permanent decision. It's temporary.
yes,
Yep.
perfect.
And
Yep.
just to also to be clear, like for the public, like there isn't a fee for them to use that because they're providing
No,
a
it's a-
service to the
yeah.
community. They provide this huge service of
Yeah, the picnics
medical
they-
equipment that comes from the thrift store and all of the community pantry. I was there by chance on the day when they were downstairs. And if people don't know that it's there and aren't utilizing it, it really is a great service, this food cupboard, and it is there for anyone in need.
Yep. And the MRC, we appoint a member to that every year or two, depending on the rotations. They have rebranded as the Waste Hub. This is the organization that oversees energy recovery in the area. PERC has always been one of their institutes. This is just a branding issue. We are getting some more information. I'm going to kind of share out with the council just on what their documents to learn more. MRC could be a long conversation to understand when it was founded, purchased by members, to work with PERC. It was an engineering recovery company that took our solid waste. They're moving more to the waste model and what they can do to reduce waste streams and improve revenues. So there's just been a whole bunch of different layers in how they're approaching it, but we are still a member and they are rebranding as the Waste Hub. They're doing it very efficiently, I guess is the way I would say it, is that it's just, they've recognized the MRC brand. Probably was confusing even when they first adopted it. And with all the changes they made, it really wasn't on brand anymore. So they're doing a little bit of a rebrand. And I'll share out more information and maybe we can have more conversations down the road.
Can I just ask, they're not taking waste currently at the Hamden facility, correct? And PERC
It's
is no longer.
close. It's really close in Hamden. I can't tell you for certain they aren't, but I keep hearing it's really, really close. So
So
I'm not
this is-
sure either way.
It's been a rough go. If you looked at we just looked at the solid waste and it was they talked about it in 2018 and it never officially was online.
Yeah.
So it's been a rough go.
Yep.
Still in our ordinance though.
It sure is.
Yeah. So,
So, well,
Yeah.
you can talk about that some other
I
time.
know
like
we
I
will.
said.
We're gonna,
So,
yeah.
that's manager's report.
Excellent. Thank you, Clint, and to staff for all that good work. And enlightening us on the solar, whatever. Nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any, number 12, item 12 is future agenda items and council requests for supporting items. Does anyone have any future agenda items or requests for supporting items? Andrea, if you need anything, let us know. Okay. Now we have a second public comment opportunity for people in the public to talk to us about anything that wasn't on the agenda. Yeah, Laura, come on up, introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Laura Mitchell. I am
Is the mic on? Is the green light?
probably not there.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Sorry.
I'm Laura Mitchell. I'm an Orono resident and a parent of 2 kids in the Orono schools. And I'm a part of the board of a new nonprofit that was launched last year in Orono by parents and community members called the Friends of Orono Schools, whose mission is to support the schools in any way possible to help kids improve facilities and ensure that extracurricular activities are supported and available for youth throughout the district. So our first project that was identified was to light the soccer field. And I just wanted to update the council because we were here last week with the planning board, and I just wanted to share a little bit of a background on the project and share appreciation for the work that we've done with the town over the last year on that project. So the reason that this specific project was chosen was I actually am an alumni of Orono High School from about many decades ago. And back then, the football field was lit, and there was no access to girls' lit facilities at the school. And since then, that has continued to be the case. And there's been no upgrades to the soccer field, Nordic ski area field, which is a new program at the schools, the Nordic ski program. Both of those programs, Nordic and soccer, are both co-ed programs. And so identifying a way to support those two programs that not only are have 4 soccer teams and high school and middle school Nordic programs, but an elementary level Nordic program that meets at night that has about 100 kids and coaches and high school kids coaching and helping as well. Just really felt like we could improve those programs and access to those programs with adding lights to that field. And so this effort will really provide safety for those programs and improved access. And both of the programs are limited by the amount of daylight that we have. And so we live in Maine. It gets dark at about 4 p.m. There's 4 soccer teams that sometimes have to fit in games with middle school. And regularly, the varsity team will play first. It'll sometimes go into overtime. The games can start as early as 3:30. It's difficult for parents to get there, getting off work. And then afterwards, the JV games get cut off and end after 15 minutes, if you're lucky, if it's not already dark by the time the varsity team plays, which is a really disappointing experience, not only for the kids, but also for the parents that have come and tried to get there to watch it. The Nordic community is in the dark during the week, and with drop-offs and pickups, not being able to see, and it's just not as safe as it could be in those conditions. And so lighting would really help. We worked with design engineers, lighting engineers, site plan engineers over basically a year to try and figure out how to align with town ordinances for lighting a location like this. And what we ended up with was identifying that a few homes were going to be impacted and have light at their property line, which is the indication in the town's ordinances that we would need to have an agreement with those neighbors. And so from June of 2024 through February of 2025, we had repeated meetings with those neighbors. One of them was a lawyer and worked to help co-draft an agreement, a neighbor agreement around lights use and how it would work. And what was agreed upon totally voluntarily was a very limited scope of use for these lights. Such that there would be some select home games during the soccer season, and there would be primarily one evening a week where the Youth Nordic program meets when there's snow for limited hours, like 5 to 7 in the winter for skiing. The lights would not be utilized in those alternate seasons and times. And so we worked diligently with the town to abide by those ordinances and agreements. And just wanted to share with you, we were pleased to come to planning board and meet those requirements. And that's what brings me here today. Some of the other reasons that we felt like this project was important was because RSU is a recruiting school, and the financials of the school rely on recruiting. Other schools have these facilities, and this is an opportunity to catch kids in some games to come to Orono. We know that there are working parents, and being able to have them come to games matters. This is not going to change the number or scope of events that this area fields for people. It changes the time of some of them and provides safety and access at other times. And so I think those are the big things I wanted to cover. We worked really hard to use the most high-tech lighting that will maintain dark skies and have shades on them to limit the focus of the light on the field. We were very cognizant of minimizing the impact on the neighbors and worked really hard to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. Yep. Okay. Any other public? We typically don't have questions or, yeah, but thank you for the update. Any other public comment? Okay, that ends the public part of our meeting and we're going to move into executive session. Mitch, we don't have anything coming out of we're not going to have any public actions after executive session, right? Yep. So I would take a motion pursuant to 1 MRSA section 405-6C regarding acquisition of real estate, real property or economic development.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we're going to do this by roll call. Councilor Larway,
In favor.
Councilor Marks,
In favor.
Councilor Demerits in favor, Councilor Kenny,
In favor?
Councilor Powers,
In favor.
Councilor Hardison,
In favor.